Fender, Gibson. Why they still reign supreme today, we're going to dig into it a little bit more, and man, they really, really do. Hey, it's me, Baxter.
And Jonathan.
Casino Guitars come at you hard and fast once more. Soft and sideways.
I was going to say soft and slow, but soft and sideways.
That's what my dad used to call me. It has multiple meanings. Anyway, so no, we were just looking at the Crossroads music festivals, a bunch of other music festivals, everything going on at the Sphere lately, which is amazing out in Las Vegas, by the way. And we keep, we're boutique lovers. We love like all sorts of weird guitars too. But everywhere we go, like everyone, even if they have boutique guitars to play, they all sort of fall back
to the old champions, the supreme masters of the guitar universe, Gibson and Fender.
It's funny, because it's stuff like, and I know, like I talk to even young people that come into the shop in person, like that's what they ask for.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if that's just our little strange universe, but across the board too, from our travels to the Midwest recently, all the way out west that I've done, to the beautiful coastline out there, to the southeast and northeast, it still seems to be like no change from 1954.
Pretty much.
As far as the amount of it, because there were brands back then too. There were.
You forget that, right? They're like,
wasn't just Fender and Gibson.
Guitars. Yeah.
That's what we do. We all think about it's just Fender Gibson.
Only two choices. Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of Sears and Roebuck guitars. Well, those are different. Those are cheap and crap. But yeah, the kids are still choosing the cheaper, more affordable Fenders and Gibsons.
Yeah.
They want that weird looking headstock that Fender has, or they want the classic Gibson behemoth of a joy. Why is this?
Because they're better. I'm only mostly kidding. But I mean, I think about it, right? Like,
I mean, it's a good answer.
There's a weird part in me, just like psychologically, where like if I'm playing some weird like ambient-y thing where it's like barely a guitar, heck yeah, give me a Novo or give me a something weird that looks funny. But if I'm playing like roots music, like, and I'm digging in, or I'm like playing blues, I don't know. It seems more right. This is such a ridiculous answer. I'm sure you will tell me this in the comments, but I'm just being honest. Like, I want a Fender. I want a Gibson.
Yeah, I can track that a little bit, and that makes a bit of sense. It's see, I can play the weird sort of shaped, funky things all the time, and I like them, but they all are based on classic models, if I think about it.
Well, they are. I mean,
Echo Parks I play are based on either Fenders or Gibsons.
Yeah.
Casadosa's sort of like it's a baritone, but it's sort of it's like a maraudery Fender creation that Carlos pulled out of his back.
So. Well, I mean, I think, pretty much what you're saying is all of our favorite boutique things are still kind of Fenders or Gibsons, right?
Well, even like we were looking at the Crossroads Festival, and like that was the comments, like it's just all Fender Gibsons. You might have seen a Silver Sky for a minute, but in general,
you see, obviously Santana.
Right.
Playing PRS.
But not many PRSs otherwise.
No. At
all. Like in that, and don't get me wrong, we know that's like an older sort of blues grouping, obviously, but not all those cats are older.
Well, I was thinking about Kingfish, right? He's got a signature Telecaster with humbuckers.
Yeah, that's right.
He could easily be playing a Gibson, I would think. You know what I mean? Like, if he wanted to. I mean, Derek and I looked into a booking him for the Blues Festival. He could afford a Gibson. He could.
Kingfish, whatever your manager's doing, your booking agent, well done.
Yeah, he should. I mean, he's an amazing player, right? But yeah, man, all those, even the young folks.
Well, it's funny too, because like going back to PRS for me, like objectively, PRS is a better guitar. Like it stays in tune. It's intonated all the time. Everything holds out better. The tones are consistent. Everything works. But
yeah, sometimes I wonder if I would, like I realized that working in guitar stores and working here, like I have unique access to like custom shop instruments that I would never have if I was just out playing guitar, probably most likely. So maybe I would feel different about PRS. Maybe I'd be like, wow, this just works so much better than this, Player Series to American Professional things that I would be probably using, right? But I mean, I don't know. People say that, and then I'm thinking, well, my custom shops don't ever go out to. Like 335.
Okay, good point. Touche there. I'll give you that.
It's not like you're saving a ton of money on if you're talking about a core piece of PRS.
God, we were just looking at that. The DGT core that we have in Aquamarine. We were just photographed. I don't even know if we have photographed yet. It's outrageous, gorgeous. But no, part of it is like they weren't in Woodstock.
Yes.
And so we have this weird historical mindset of just like the classic. I keep thinking that's the older generation is gonna we're gonna fade out, and but then you see the young cats still wanting it.
I mean, there's something to the fact that I think even the young cats are still influenced by the people who were at Woodstock. I don't know that there's been a generation yet that influences people in the same way that that first wave of rock stars.
Well, and I'm not like an Eagles diehard by any stretch. We know that in here. But when Hotel California came on the radio the other day when I was on Sirius X, I'm driving home with my kids, just me and my boys, and we got a 3-hour car trip. And they came, I made a list of lots of classic rocks. I explained, listen, this is one guitar, this is another guitar player, these are two guitar players at the same time.
And it's amazing, yeah.
And you forget how good those recordings are, and they were done on all those instruments that we love. Maybe though, as we go further, PRS is getting into those hands of a lot of players. Just wasn't. Yeah. But still, Fender and Gibson still just have the.
Well, okay, here's a great example. The Eagles, right?
Yes.
Through the years, because they've been around a long time, and I love the Eagles, and I love Joe Walsh. Joe Walsh has done his weird Schecter thing. He played Hamer for a while. Do you know what I mean? They got into using if I'm not mistaken, one of the guys was playing like an Ernie Ball Music Man kind of double neck instead of a Gibson for a while. But they've all come back around to Fenders.
Well, even John Mayer, you see him on his Fenders a lot. The blues festivals, you go, just comes back.
Well, you're not. Obviously the Silver Sky's great, and I think he really does love them and likes them. But if you got a '60s Strat, you're not going to just be like, oh, I'll never play this again.
That would be weird.
You're going to play it.
Contractually, you have to. No.
Or he's got occasionally he breaks out those old a 330 or a 335 or something like that, and it's pretty awesome.
No, and I guess that maybe that's the place where the boutiques live, though. They live sort of on the outskirts, and they're supposed to, and that's sort of the cool indie bands. But then you see major bands playing them, like Queens of Stone Age and a lot of other huge bands play those level of guitars, but they're almost that type of band is also on the fringe.
Well, I think maybe they live in that you go see Blackberry Smoke, right? Yes. The vast majority of that show is played on Gibsons.
Correct.
But then they break out some Fenders, and then occasionally, for not a weird thing, but a very specific thing, he pulls out Echo Parks.
I think it's one song really he plays the Echo Park.
Yeah, and it's you know what I mean? So and I'm kind of fine with a boutique thing doing that. And then maybe some kid sees that and they're like, man, I love that thing, and they build their whole style around that thing, and they play Echo Parks. So maybe that's how it starts to kind of filter in there. I don't know.
No, they've done such a good job, the major manufacturers are talking about, and PRS, God, 1980s, when that thing came about.
Yeah.
But of getting into the hands of so many of the new young players too, and they keep getting into the hands. And we go to all the festivals, and you see almost all the young bands are playing Fenders, because they're affordable still. Well, sort of, or you can find them used for cheaper.
Yeah.
A Les Paul, traditional or standard, is still expensive. Expensive guitars. So,
I think there's a company, and we have carried them in the past, that just kind of wasn't our thing. Space wise, really was what worked out. Big D'Angelico.
Yep.
Man, if they have done anything right, it's everyone has one of their guitars in a good way, right? I think they're giving them out to a lot of newer, exciting players. And it's cool. I watch a lot of YouTube videos where they're playing.
They're cool guitars.
They are cool guitars,
They
man.
look cool. They're different looking, and they have the historical, legacy. But it's a new thing now, and I think Bob Weir did a lot for that.
He did. I think he did too.
It's just who would have thought Bob Weir would be cooler post Grateful Dead? And he's sort of. It's just funny. He's just grown into this whole other thing, and then you have Dead and Company. That's just. I guess they're just wrapping up now.
I think so, right?
That's
They're kind of. You think they're really done? I think they might do some of those.
It's hard to say. They'll pop back up as long as Bob is around.
Yeah.
Get Bob and old Johnny Mayer on there now. You can rock and roll it. No, I think it's just fascinating as much because I love the Weir guitars.
Yes.
Everything from Echoes to Castadosas to my strange little PRS Joys, and I'm calling them a weird one. They're not boutique anymore at this point, I guess. But it still is those two big boys still just own the lion's share.
Kind of dominate the live thing.
Who are the biggest electronics? It's Sony and who's the other one? I can't remember who it would be.
Is it Samsung?
Oh yeah, that would probably be it. Yeah, Sony and Samsung, screws, kind of like that. And then you got the other guys that are sort of filtering that in between space.
They're around.
I mean, when you break down economics of consumer electronics versus musical MI sales, is what they call it in the biz, it's hilarious how small.
The tiniest little
Nothing.
blurb.
Nothing. Like just the galaxies alone
Yeah.
outsell the entire musical industry.
Right.
It's upsetting.
Which is kind of wild in the
Upsetting.
Well,
The little black mirrors we all stare at all day. Hopefully they won't be around by the time my kids are. We'll just have Neuralink.
it'll just be in their brain, so it'll be fine.
Gross.
Won't have to hold anything.
I've already started training my kids to say no to the Neuralink.
That's good.
Like, just one day this is going to be offered to you. Just say no for now. You don't need to say. So anyway, that's our 2 cents. We'd love to hear what you're thinking on it some too. It's fascinating. After so many years, you can't knock the 2 big boys off.